Hey everybody, hopefully you guys can hear me, but let me go to my channel to make sure that this live is actually started. Alright, let me make sure it's started. Yep, okay, it's gotten started. Hey, what's going on everybody? This is the after show of The Legacy of Michael Jackson Volume 3. And I hope all is going well with everybody on this Sunday afternoon. Well, alright, I see 8 people have joined this live. What's going on, Yvette? I see 8 people here. Who's watching? I'd like to know. Who's watching? Who's tuning in? Who's out there? Where are you guys? I see Mary Lou. I see Sandra. Dove Angel, are you here with me?
Yep, I'm here.
Guys, can you hear Dove Angel?
Hello, everybody. Yep, I'm here.
Guys, can you hear Dove Angel?
Hello?
Can you hear her? Dove Angel, say hello.
Hi, everyone.
Can you hear her? Alright, they're saying that they can hear you. Oh, what's going on, everybody? This is the after show of The Legacy of Michael Jackson Volume 3, and I see your comments. Thank you, Cassandra. She wrote a really great story for this particular volume. I didn't do any of the writing. She actually wrote the story for this. She did the research, so this time I actually stepped back and let someone else who also has an appreciation for MJ's legacy to actually write something in his honor. You said it's an echo? I'm not sure as to why. I don't know. But yeah, like this volume of The Legacy of MJ definitely meant a lot, especially when she brought it to the table with it being about Ryan White and what he actually experienced during his short life and the impact that he has made despite his circumstances. It actually woke up a lot of people. Originally, people were very silent towards it, angry towards it, and just were playing mean for no reason. Like, his whole life going through that, it wasn't even his whole life, but the part of his life where he actually dealt with having HIV and AIDS. And he was just so downtrodden and belittled, and people just mistreated this boy for no reason. And I understand at the time that there was no actual, real research on the disease, but still have some compassion. Like, have some compassion. I mean, there was plenty of doctors that he did visit at the time that did authorize him to be around other people and go to school. And they even confirmed for the school that he was in that the disease was not airborne, but however, they didn't care. They took it to court, they fought it, and tried to get him banned from coming back to the school. When he did go back to the school, they verbally abused him and harassed him the entire time, and it was disgusting that he experienced that. Hey, Cassandra. But yeah, it's just really horrible to know that, no matter a person's circumstances, if you don't understand what they're going through or who they are, that means that you're okay to mistreat them. I don't get that logic when it comes to humanity. I mean, he experienced some of the same things despite that he had a disease. Imagine how he felt being made to eat out of separate dishes, drink out of separate water fountains, use separate bathrooms. This is something that happened to black people when they considered being black to be a bad thing. where us black people had to use separate bathrooms, drink from separate water fountains, swim in separate pools. So they pretty much outcasted him the way they originally tried to do to the black race. Devange, you still here with us?
Yeah, I'm listening to your story.
No, well, chime in at any time. This is actually your.
I'm a little shy.
Was there anything that you want to add on to what I've just spoken about?
Well, I do agree on the comment you made about it is kind of a sort of racism that they had against well, they still have against some ill people or sick people that have AIDS or whatever other diseases that are, maybe contagious or whatever. But AIDS is not contagious in the sense that if you shake somebody's hand, you'll get it. But it is kind of racist the way people handle or treat other people with in this case AIDS patients.
Like, it was horrible
I mean,
what he experienced.
Yeah, the poor boy went through hell just to be in school. I mean, he was made fun of. They even got hunted out of their own house. That's horrible.
And then the fact that someone tried to shoot and kill him, because that's what they were doing when they
Right.
shot that bullet through his window. I was just really shocked at that part of the story, because that I didn't actually know. So that's something that you made me aware of. I mean, I knew about a lot of the harassment that he faced, but I had no clue that someone tried to shoot and kill him. Because why else would they have been shooting through his window?
Exactly. And they made up stories about him, spitting on vegetables in supermarkets so people would get sick. That he would bite people on the street, like he was some kind of a zombie or something.
I know, that was pure ignorance.
Yeah, canceling their subscriptions on the paper route he was working on. I mean, it was just too much, and he still managed to just be a kid and enjoy his short life.
And then within that short 5 years that he actually dealt with this, he tried to make the best of every moment, no matter what the circumstances was, no matter how bad they treated him. They did not break his spirit in who he was.
Right. And very much like MJ. I think that's why they get along so well.
I think so as well. Because the same thing, MJ being different, people mistreated and abused him. So they related to each other being abused by people that they don't even know. That's the worst part about it, is a lot of the people that was doing the abusing might have been his surrounding students and fellow students, but it's not like he probably knew all of them. They were just being totally cruel.
Right. Just because he was different, because he had a disease. I mean, it's just crazy.
I mean, even some of the news interviews that Ryan Whitehead did, trying to explain his case and have people understand, some of the news reporters were even rude to him, and it just really disgusted me, like saying that, oh, he's an alleged victim. What do you mean an alleged victim? He actually is a victim. He didn't choose to catch this disease. He didn't choose it.
Yeah.
This was something that was totally accidental. And this is something that people have to realize. This is not a choice. And this was not his choice. There are cases that we can't confirm that people have purposely gotten themselves sick. But he did not have a choice. And there are many others who didn't have a choice in the matter, because there are many people with different illnesses that require blood transfusions. And back then, which is something that I also discussed with you earlier on, Dove Angel, I wondered, like, they did have the testing then, even though they didn't have a full consensus of what AIDS actually was, they did have a consensus of recognizing an anomaly in a blood test. So the fact that they were giving him these treatments were they actually testing any of this stuff? Is what I'm wondering. Hey, everybody that's
I think,
joining.
yeah, I think they didn't. I think they didn't thoroughly did the testing of the blood.
I don't think they actually tested, because if they actually did test, they would have seen that there was some sort of anomaly, even if they didn't know what it was. It would have gave them some
Right.
sort of knowledge, like, wait, we can't use this. And then I'm wondering how many
Exactly.
other children or people who are hemophiliacs that
Got it.
receive that same treatment
Yeah.
actually have suffered from HIV or AIDS,
Right.
especially in that time era.
Yep.
What's going on,
And even
everybody? I see everybody.
right. Hi everybody.
What's going on, Poetic?
Um, even though on this day, Daryl, it's just, you never know if you get sick or you need surgery or whatever, or you get in an accident and you need a blood transfusion. It just makes you think: is it really safe to, put your life in doctor's hands, and whether the treatment they're giving you is the right one or not?
I agree with
It
you.
it really makes you think.
I had shared with you yesterday when we had spoken that I had a relative
Yeah.
who actually was suggested a blood transfusion, and this was recently, as of 3 years ago, and she said no. And she mentioned the whole Ryan White situation because she said to me specifically, how do we know that they're specifically testing anything that they're giving you? Look what
Right.
they did to him. So I agree with her on that. I mean, you're never too sure. It's a risk.
Nope. It
It's
is.
definitely a risk. And I
And
definitely.
since they make it, yeah. Sorry.
No, go
Go
ahead.
on.
What was you going to say?
I was going to say that since you have to sign, the documents before you even go into surgery, you can't even, sue them later if something happens to you, because then they'll probably just brush it off like there was some complication and she or he died out of the complications of the surgery, not because there was, maybe a wrong treatment with what they got. You get
Right,
what I'm saying?
right.
Yeah.
And I definitely commend his mother. I mean, in the long run, something that she had said while I was researching for your story, she had said that Ryan had said to her if he had to do that blood transfusion all over again, he still would have, even if it was risky, because it helped with his pain. Nobody knows the pain that he actually
Right.
experienced being a hemophiliac.
Yeah.
It actually did help his pain in the long run. Because when the blood didn't
It's a
clot
hard.
properly, it would end up bruising
Yeah.
his bones,
Right.
his ligaments,
Yep.
and he would just get different bruises everywhere. I mean, it was hard for him to even stand, walk
Be a
around,
kid.
and
Yeah.
be a kid. And be a normal kid like most kids actually want for their lives. And then also, I do commend Ryan's mother, Jeannie White Gender. I commend her bravery and how she still continues to this very day to honor her
Yeah.
son's legacy. Excuse me. The way she continues to honor him, and she pushes for different causes in the fight against HIV and AIDS. I do commend her for it. The JMP said he has an
Yeah.
uncle. I have a relative that they were telling she needed a blood transfusion and she refused, and this was about 3 years ago. This was 3 years ago. And even though the Ryan White situation was back in the late 80s to early 90s, people now are still wary of taking blood transfusions because it's very risky. But what actually was a good thing that came out of it once Ryan did go public with his status to everyone, being that it was already out, the newspapers was talking about it, everyone was talking about it through the media. It was the talk throughout the US and the world. Like, everyone knew about Ryan White's story. And that led to President Bill Clinton at the time in 1991 or 2 signing the Ryan White Care Act, which ended up continuing on to President George W. Bush. And then it continued on to Barack Obama. So his act actually meant
Yep.
a lot, being that they kept renewing this act. But I did learn during my research that in 2013 that the act actually expired. So I'm not understanding how did it expire and what are they going to actually do to reinstate this act.
Well, Barack did sign the, how do you call that?
The Ryan White
The
Care Act.
yeah, the prolongation of the contract or whatever it's called. And Trump did also a huge amount of money donation,
Yeah.
to the yeah, to the investigation of AIDS, and still they're helping underprivileged people to get their meds and helping them getting their treatment. So that's pretty cool that his legacy still goes on.
Like, I actually am glad, though, that his mother is making sure that his legacy goes on because it still is bringing much needed awareness to people who still don't understand now in 2019. There are some people who don't understand, and then there are people who don't want to understand because they don't feel like it's a concern of theirs. But as humans, brothers and sisters of this planet, we should be concerned with what's going on with our fellow brothers and sisters, especially when it comes to something of this nature. Because, like it happened to Ryan, God forbid it can happen to anyone.
Right.
It can happen to anyone. So that's something that we do need to make sure that we're aware of. So I do urge anyone who is tuned in, make sure that you are very much aware of what this disease is and what actually could happen if ever came in contact with, if you ever actually were in that situation. Because now there are people who don't want to understand it, and I really do hope that people educate themselves on this disease.
Right.
Yvette Colbert says Michael Jackson don't care what the disease AIDS had that Ryan has. He looked beyond that with open arms and brought Ryan to Neverland and taking care of Ryan. He sure did. He
Yep.
sure did. Hi Tamara. Poetic says I'm so happy that Michael and other stars helped Ryan. I'm happy as well because he needed the public support. Because once the stars actually welcomed him, other people began to see that it was okay, even though it shouldn't have taken celebrities to bring awareness. Medical doctors, people who actually have the training to tell you whether he was able to be around you or not, were telling a lot of the people around Ryan that he can live in the same circumference as them without no complication. But they didn't want to accept it until they started seeing him appear with celebrities, and that's the thing that I didn't like about society, that it took celebrities to bring this sort of awareness when medical doctors were blatantly telling them that he can be around you. He's not a risk to be around you at all. VG
I
says
agree.
VG says whatever you endure or get put on, there are always consequences, and that's the worst because nobody is 100% sure whether something works. That's true. Even medications, you don't know for sure 100% that they're working. Every medication that's supposed to help one particular ailment, it'll actually give you another ailment. You're taking something for diabetes, but then you're getting diarrhea and headaches and body pains. So how is that helping? That's why I'm just like so confused with even the medical industry when it comes to medication. Not everything actually works because you're trying to help, you know, make something less worse at the time, but you're making other things a factor that wasn't a factor before in someone's body. Poetic says, I have to tell you, when my husband got cancer, they treated him differently, like they could catch it from him. And I know that that's not a lie. I know that that's the truth because I've seen it while visiting hospitals, visiting some of my relatives, and see the way patients were being treated, especially due to their circumstances like AIDS or cancer. And you can't catch any of those things. It's not something that's transmissible by breathing in air of a person that has cancer or AIDS. It's horrible to know that people really thought that way and still think that way to this day. Margie says, just like my father now. And it's sad. And I really wish your father a speedy recovery, Margie. My prayers are with him. And I'm sorry that you actually had to experience that and your husband had to experience that, Poetic, because it's horrible. It's really horrible. Especially when someone is ailing, they're definitely in a need of some sort of compassion and emotion from the people around them. And when you just don't have it, it will make you dwindle away and succumb to your disease if you don't have that sort of support.
Yeah, you feel elated. How do you say that? Alienated?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you feel alienated and alone.
Right. You're dealing
Cassandra said,
with your sickness or your illness, and you feel all alone because you feel like you're the weird people, like you're the weird one, just because you have a certain something wrong with you.
and that's the horrible way to think. And I honestly wish and hope that people change their mindsets because that's not the way things actually are.
This actually is kind of a good thing also because it's not only about the HIV or AIDS or whatever. I mean, it does make you think that it even could inspire people to actually become, you know, donators of donators of blood or bone marrow. You know, you could actually save someone's life.
Right. Cassandra says, my coworker is a type 1, and she's very small, and it hurts her because of that stereotype. I could imagine,
Well,
because not every diabetic is overweight. Some people are born diabetics as well. So the stereotype with diabetes being associated with overweight people is so false. Because anyone can get diabetes regardless of their weight. They could actually be born with it. It's not even about weight, also, it's about what you're eating. It depends on what you're eating because even the skinniest person can eat all the wrong things and end up with diabetes and becoming a diabetic. Someone says it's buffering. It probably is because my Wi-Fi was acting up today, guys. So Sandy says, I used to be a people person and made friends easily. Now I'm basically a shut-in. I don't blame you for becoming that way because people make you feel like you have to withdraw yourself from the world and withdraw yourself from people with the way they treat you. I know how that is. I've experienced being the different person and having people mistreat me frivolously for nothing. And all because that's just who they were. Not because I particularly did anything. Some people are just mean and evil spirited, no matter what your circumstances are. It's really
right.
sad, and it's really sad. It just really bothers me a lot.
Yeah, it is sad.
But guys, do you have any questions for us while we're still going through with this live? Is it still buffering? I see somebody say it's buffering. Cassandra says, very true, mister, and that's what have caused my grandmother's death in the late 90s. Wow, I'm sorry to hear
No,
that,
sorry,
Cassandra.
Cassandra.
Wow, very sorry to hear that. Like, that is really a lonely place to be in when people mistreat you over something that you can't control. And something that's no fault of your own. VG says the same as with elderly people being thrown into a retirement home and nobody comes to visit them anymore. They are very unhappy. I agree. I definitely
Yeah,
agree with
that's
you
very
on there.
sad as well.
And that's something that I experienced too, not being thrown into a retirement home, but when my great grandmother was put into a retirement home, I felt so guilty because it's not like I could do anything. I didn't have the control to tell them to not put her there, being that I wasn't her legal, I guess, guardian. or her legal caretaker, so I had no authority to say anything. But I remember one thing that she did say to me when I visited her, and it still sticks to me to this day. When, I left her, oh my goodness, this really bothers me, but she told me that she feels like we threw her away like an old rag. And that really bothers me to this day, that she felt that way. She felt so alone there, going to sleep every night without us, without her family. And that still bothers me to this day, and it really hurts me to the point that it's almost bringing me to tears. I know how she felt. And a lonely place is not a place you want to be in. Don't let anybody
No, not at all.
don't let anybody push you into a lonely corner. Don't let anybody push you into that corner and make you feel that way. Poetic says, JMP, you probably have people judging you all the time just because of the color of your skin. I do. I do. I still deal with that now. And I know that that's one of the reasons why I'm not where I am now with a certain business. It's because of my experience with being black. I'm sorry.
Well, there's no need to be sorry. I mean, facts are facts, and you're just, telling things like they are. It's so sad and so I don't know. It just makes me angry that till this day in the 21st century that people are still that ignorant. To still have to deal with racism and everything else people are dealing with every single day. When it's not the skin color, it's their weight. When it's not the weight, it's because they wear glasses. If it's not, then it's because you're a redhead. Whatever it is, people always find something to put you down, and that's not right.
And I do have to say, a lot of it is due to social media. Social media has now become the gateway for people to actually judge and ridicule people.
Yeah, and bully. They
Yeah.
bully a lot.
Because now it's not even just being done to your face, it's being done on social media. And that's another disgusting way that people are mistreating people and making people feel like
Right.
crap. Racism is still around, and I've experienced it recently.
Uh,
And I just can't even talk about it because I'm in talks with certain people about filing a lawsuit. So I can't even talk about it.
oh, it's okay. Don't talk about it, but do what you got to do. You know, it's not right for that person to treat you differently because of the skin color you have, or the race you are, or the beliefs you have, or whatever. And if you do have the chance to actually do them, then just do it.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Cindy says the treatment the elderly has is bad in the nursing home. My mom is 93. She told me the Reaper keeps knocking on her door, and when she answers it, he says,
Wow.
"Oops, I have the wrong apartment. She wants to go." Wow, your mom really says that, Sandy?
Wow.
Yvette Colbert says, I was diabetic for 2 years and 6 months. I had the pill this July 29th, 2019. My doctor told me I was no longer a diabetic, and I never had to worry about it. That's a good thing then. Some people can actually shake off being a diabetic if you actually have the right diet and have the right medications that do work with your body. That is a feasibility, and it can happen. But yeah, it's definitely sad what he experienced and what we all experience in our daily lives. Whether it's to our faces or on social media, behind our backs, it's horrible. And nobody should have to be mistreated or belittled just because of who they are, what their experience, or even if they had a disease. No one should be mistreated. I have plenty of friends.
Yeah, I agree.
I have plenty of friends who are diabetic. I have a friend and a relative who's HIV positive, and I'm very close to them both. I don't believe in mistreating anyone because of their circumstances. It's not right. It's not right. And I don't suggest that anybody mistreat someone just because of their status, their religion, their race, their health status. Don't mistreat people, period. Learn to love more and learn to appreciate each other a little more.
Exactly. Amen to that.
And that's definitely what we need to do. But guys, do you have any more for us before we end this live stream? Do you have any questions? Sandy says it's so sad, and because my siblings, I can't do anything about it. Wow. Well, I'm on the East Coast, Poetic, New York. But that's right. Remember love and not hate. Dove Angel, do you have anything that you want to say before I wrap this up?
I just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thanking you, especially for letting me do my little project on your channel. So having to trust me with it. You did an amazing job on the editing of the video. Thank you to Hazy as well. Probably you guys, we won't hear from you guys after before the Christmas or the holidays. So I wish everybody Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. And then hopefully see you all guys in 2020.
I appreciate you writing the story that you did. It was a wonderful story, and I thank you for working with me. That was definitely a well-written story, and I hope the message gets out there that don't mistreat people because they're different, no matter their circumstances. And I do thank you for participating in writing this story and even giving time and your effort into this story on behalf of Michael Jackson and Ryan White. And Hazy, I thank you for the opening that you have provided for the video. It's amazing because I use it every video for this project now. But yeah, guys, if I don't get to speak to any of you before the Christmas holiday, I do wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. I will definitely be seeing you guys before the New Year. I do promise that. I will be seeing you before the New Year. But guys, thank you for tuning into the video premiere, and thank you for tuning into the after show. Much love to you all. We will be seeing you guys next time for Volume 4. Take care, everybody.